We are going at your direction. We are going to know by September. We've launched a massive testing and research effort that's going to involve hundreds of scientists from around the world. By September, we will know what has caused the autism epidemic, and we'll be able to eliminate those exposures.
So big. Think of that.
Hi, thank you for tuning in. This is Tekang, and today we are going to be discussing vaccines. In a recent meeting with President Trump and his cabinet, in which they were providing updates on what's going on in the country, RFK did reveal that they will have an answer as to what caused the autism epidemic by September. And by so he's essentially saying that by September, they're currently doing a lot of research on that, and we will get answers by September. Okay, let's listen to what he had to say during this cabinet meeting.
We are going at your direction. We are going to know by September. We've launched a massive testing and research effort that's going to involve hundreds of scientists from around the world. By September, we will know what has caused the autism epidemic, and we'll be able to eliminate those exposures.
So big. Think of that. So it was 1 in 10,000 children had autism, and now it's 1 in 31. Not 31,000, 31. That's a horrible statistic, isn't it? And there's got to be something artificial out there that's doing this. So you think you're going to have a pretty good idea, huh?
We will know by September.
There will be no bigger news conference than that. So that's it. If you can come up with that answer where you stop taking something, you stop eating something, or maybe it's a shot, but something's causing it. It can't be from 10,000 to. Can you imagine that, Marco? That's a big number. Thank you very much.
Now, did you all catch that statistic? It was 1 in 10,000. Now it's 1 in 31. Not 31,000, he said. 31. 1 in 31 children have autism. Make it make sense. You know, this is something that we've experienced ourselves in our community. I can count the number of people in my family alone, my extended family, that have autistic kids, and then friends that we grew up with, in where I come from, we don't know such things. And people would argue that, oh, it's because they didn't test people, or it's because it was there. No, it was not. It wasn't. There's statistics. You can go look at them. There's records on this stuff. You can go look at them for yourself. 1 in 1,000. What difference do you know the difference between 1 in 1,000 and 1 in 31? That's massive. Something is happening, and people are refusing to discuss it. Thank goodness for President Trump in office. We can openly discuss what's going on with these poison shots. And I know that during the lockdowns, there was a person named Steve Kirsch that had actually done research on these vaccines in the Amish community compared to other communities. And guess what? He says he found 0 cases in the Amish community. Let me show you the video of his findings.
Want accountability, and where do you see that headed?
I think you're not going to get accountability until people wake up, until people realize that they've been lied to. And I think the biggest wake-up call is autism. We have an autism epidemic in America. I just did a survey. 22% of households I surveyed have one or more autistic kids. 22%. Now, of my friends, of my unvaccinated friends, or who are anti-vaccine friends, 1/3 of my friends have an autistic child at home. So this 22% number is probably pretty low, because when I surveyed my followers, and my followers are in general against vaccines. But of course, one of the reasons they became against vaccines is because they got an autistic child. And then they stopped vaccinating and realized that subsequent children who were not vaccinated didn't get autism. Now, there are about 100 top researchers in the world on autism. And one of them reached out to Dr. James Lyons Weiler, who wrote a book on autism, and he thanked him for writing the book. And he mentioned that, all of us top autism researchers, we all know that vaccines cause autism. We're just not allowed to talk about it. And that's why we have an autism epidemic in America, because they're just not allowed to talk about it, because they would lose their NIH grants, they would lose their jobs, they would lose their license to practice medicine if they spoke the truth. There's only been one autism expert that I'm aware of who's ever testified under oath. Why is that? Why isn't anybody calling any of these autism experts and confronting them with the undeniable data that shows vaccines cause autism?
Exactly.
It's because nobody wants to know.
Now take a look at this cartoon by my favorite artist, Garrison, Ben Garrison. He's amazing. And as you can see, today while I was on Twitter, on X, keep saying Twitter, while I was on X, some people were talking about humans are going to be chipped somehow. And a lot of people are like, no, not me. For those of you that are going to be little sheep to these pharmaceutical industries, good luck with that. And another person came in and said, well, we do chip our dogs and our cattle. And I'm thinking, seriously? Do you think we're not dogs and cattle? What's that comparison? Oh my God, some people. So if you look at these forced vaccinations, which for some reason these fools are not giving up, and you have GMO, human feed, it's been GMO'd completely. Even your corn is no longer corn anymore. You can't even find grapes that have seeds or oranges that have seeds. Most of them don't. Even the ones that say organic don't have seeds. What happened to the seeds? It takes a seed to grow anything. My goodness, these people. And then you have property of you are kind of the property of your government, and you have them, was that formaldehyde into your body, aborted fetal matter into your body, which is the ones they're hiding in those vaccines, thimerosal, mercury, all in your body because God was so foolish and forgot to put those things in your body. These people are crazy. And then you have the mainstream media, of course, with their lies. You have Big Pharma and you have the warmongers. All of these people, global corporation, all of these people, they just want you and I to consume all these poisons, GMO food, fluoride in your water, and all these poisons, and then keep you chained in debt and a police state. Please wake up. It's funny how things like this have been under our nose the entire time, and we never really noticed until 2020. We should be thanking our stars for 2020 because you had people that after the vaccine rollout, they took the shot and they would tell you things like, oh, and it's funny, most people that took that shot, they had COVID after, and they will give you excuses like, oh, if I hadn't taken the shot, my COVID would have been worse. I could have even died, all that jazz. You know, this is what they told us. And people fell for it, totally fell for it. Yeah, they totally fell for it. Whatever happened to safe and effective? Oh, it's 100% safe, 100% safe and effective. You're not supposed to have COVID after you get your shot. And then after that, they told you, oh, because you had the COVID, the COVID vaccine, you now need to get a booster. And the entire world fell for it. People were running to go get their boosters. I had friends who even had they had an injury on one of their arms, and they still went and took the booster. You know, I don't know what's going on with these vaccines. Something's got to be done. They need to do more research on this. I'm not going to be one of those people that will tell you I'm an anti-vax. I know based on what I know now, for 4 or 5 years of what I've read and what I've researched on, never again. I'll say it right now. And people can come at me and call me anti-vaxxer, call me whatever they want. I don't care. Okay? Yeah, they totally fell for it. Whatever happened to safe and effective? Oh, it's 100% safe, 100% safe and effective. You're not supposed to have COVID after you get your shot. And then after that, they told you, oh, because you had the COVID, the COVID vaccine, you now need to get a booster. And the entire world fell for it. People were running to go get their boosters. I had friends who even they had an injury on one of their arms, and they still went and took the booster. You know, I don't know what's going on with these vaccines. Something's got to be done. They need to do more research on this. I'm not going to be one of those people that will tell you I'm an anti-vax. I know based on what I know now, for 4 or 5 years of what I've read and what I've researched on, never again. I'll say it right now. And people can come at me and call me anti-vaxxer, call me whatever they want. I don't care. Okay? Now, during the lockdowns, you had doctors, nurses making YouTube videos, and YouTube choreographed dance videos, thousands of them around the globe. And they were telling us, oh, the hospitals are overwhelmed. They have people are dying. They'll show you the people collapsing on the streets, and you had all these dancing videos. My daughter and I we went to do the swab and we're told that we had COVID. And for an illness that's so dangerous, that can kill you, they sent us home with no medication, nothing. Just go home. If it gets worse, go to emergency. Really? This is what they told us, and we all fell for it. If I were not smart enough to go and see a doctor that was ready to prescribe hydroxychloroquine for my daughter, and I don't know what would have happened because during that time we caught our COVID, we lost our sense of smell and taste. And they were telling us how dangerous this thing is. Really? It's so dangerous that you get diagnosed with COVID and they send you home. Make it make sense. Now, during that time, there was a lot of we were home lockdown, watching TikTok, YouTube videos, which was the agenda from the very beginning. And you come across videos of movies that were made way before 2021, showing you some pandemic and how it was handled. And then you realize, oh my God, this is exactly what we're experiencing. So they kind of prepare your mind, you know, for this. And then you come across videos of doctors that were censored on Twitter at the time and YouTube completely, who were talking about this whole pandemic, how it was planned years back. Now, I came across this video with Dr. Rita Labo, who currently lives in Panama, left the country because she knew what was coming and was afraid for her life. Okay, let's listen.
Dr. Lebo, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you, Governor.
Jesse Ventura, thanks for coming now. You've left the United States of America.
Yes, sir, I have.
Why?
I do not feel safe living in the United
Really?
States.
Do you want to come in and sit down?
No, sir, I'd rather not.
You'd rather just be here so you can make a fast exit if you have
As soon as you and I finish,
You're out
I'm
here.
leaving the country again. Why? Because in a very short time, not today, not tomorrow, but very soon, we'll be facing compulsory vaccination under the mistaken term of voluntary vaccination.
What is it about these vaccinations? You think that they're bad?
Well, first of all, let's start with the fact that the World Health Organization has decided that we have 90% too many people. The World Health Organization has been working since 1974 on vaccines to create permanent sterility.
Doctor, the response is going to be, you're crazy. How can you say this stuff?
They will induce a pandemic. Going to get the flu. Everybody around us is going to get the flu. Then the United States government, based on their statements that they've already made, will say, oh my, we have a pandemic. What that means is a Holocaust, a genocidal Holocaust. Men and women will sicken and die, and those who survive will be infertile. Let me tell you a story. In 2003, I had a patient in my drug-free medical practice who was a head of state. And one day she said, you know, it's almost time for the great culling to begin.
The what?
That's what I said. The what? She said the great culling, C-U-L-L-I-G, when you thin the herd. I said, what are you talking about? She said, it's almost time for the useless...
Remember when Dr. Erickson and Dr. Masihi were interviewed back in 2020, and this video was removed from the internet. You know, they removed it. What was their reason? What was their reason for removing the video from the internet? Let's listen to what he had to say back then.
The sick. When someone has measles, you quarantine them. We've never seen where we quarantine the healthy, where you take those without disease and without symptoms and lock them in your home.
But historically, if you look at biblical times, you look at leprosy, Mycobacterium leprae, which is the bacteria that causes it. They isolated the sick. They didn't isolate everybody else.
I also wanted to mention that 96% of people in California who get COVID recover with almost no significant sequelae or no significant continuing medical problems.
That is so true. That is so true.
328 million.
When so many people were diagnosed with COVID in 2020, and some would tell me, "Oh, I made my concoction of fruits and there's like citrus fruits. I made the concoction and heated it up, drank it, and my COVID was gone." And some people didn't need to take anything, but people like me did take hydroxychloroquine because we lost our sense of smell and taste, and we needed to get them back. And one of the doctors that was out there advocating for people taking hydroxychloroquine because it works, you know, was the reason why we did take this medication, and it worked. In 2 days, we were able to smell and taste again.
Million people times 19.6 is 64 million. That's a significant amount of people with COVID. It's similar to the flu. If you study the numbers in 2017 and 2018, we had 50 to...
And also remember when you had Dr. Buttar go on CNN and said, talked about the vaccine and the components of the vaccine and what it could potentially do to people. And a few years down the road, we are seeing all these effects that they were trying to hide from people. And you had the CDC saying that, no, it's not the CDC, it was the FDA. They were saying they will reveal the ingredients of the vaccine in 2076. That's when none of us will be here to defend the children of that time. They're going to reveal the ingredients in 2076. Make it make sense. Let's listen to what Dr. Buttar had to say then.
Now from two different sources, we have confirmation, and I've talked to one of those sources myself, that there's something within the vaccines that is being considered as a bioweapon, which is, again, not a new term, but that this particular component within the vaccines is almost like a payload. And I think of a payload.
All right, that was Dr. Rashid Buttar, who was very instrumental during the lockdowns, trying to educate people on these vaccines. And during a conference during that time of 2020, where they were trying to do a lot of research on what's going on with these vaccines, he was poisoned, allegedly poisoned. And he said he feels that he was poisoned through shedding. Remember, Dr. Buttar was on CNN right after the vaccine rollouts telling, do you remember when Senator Ron Johnson in 2022 met with parents with not just parents, but people that have been vaccine injured, and all these videos were taken off of Twitter, they were taken off of YouTube, and we really need to be thanking goodness for President Trump because all these videos are now resurfacing, videos that we saw 5 years ago. They are back now on the internet, okay? And people are now free to discuss, you know, to discuss whatever um, concerns they have regarding these vaccines. We are free to have a dialogue, which we couldn't have before. Now, just take a look at this video when Senator Ron Johnson met with people that had been injured by these vaccines that no one ever talked about. And I had people say, "Oh, COVID killed some." It didn't. You need to do your research. It was after the rollout of the vaccines that the curve went zzz. Okay? People were dying, people were having all sorts of disease, and they were trying to hide that data from you. Just saying. It's like,
Vaccine and pro-science. My children have all been vaccinated. I was part of the phase 3 clinical trial for AstraZeneca here in the United States. This is my daughter, Maddie, who was in the Pfizer vaccine trial for 12 to 15-year-olds. I received Moderna. 1 dose of Moderna. I received my Pfizer vaccination. I was ready to do it for my family, for my community, and for me to get back to my career. I lined up to get this vaccine in the clinical trial. So obviously I was pro-vaccine going into this. I still am pro-vaccine. We weren't worried. She just said she didn't think anything would happen. Started not feeling well in the middle of the night. She came into her room. Her heart felt like it was being pulled out of her body and then up through her neck. I started to feel dizzy. I had heart palpitations. Felt like I couldn't breathe. And my leg buckled. I literally looked down to see that I had legs, but they were not there. They were not functioning. I couldn't feel my feet. I couldn't feel anything from the waist down. My face has paresthesia, and so it tingles and burns all the time. You couldn't touch her anywhere on her body or she would scream. I was having these shaking fits, and I would explain it as my body just violently shaking. I sat her down and gave her my will, and I actually recorded it so that my son wouldn't have to go through if I didn't make it. I feel like I'm on a accordion, that my body is just going to snap and fold up and they're going to place me in a little box. The one doctor that was in charge of my case told me to get used to being handicapped.
well, ladies and gentlemen, there are thousands of videos like this that we saw 4 years ago, 5 years ago. No, 4 years ago. There are thousands of cases. There are cases I know personally, people dying from their shots. And whenever you talked about it, I remember I was suspended on Twitter twice for even discussing it. What are they trying to hide? When we refuse to discuss the things that are of concern to us, we are handing ammunition to the enemy. That's what we're doing. People have become so afraid to discuss certain things that the perpetrators, they just keep going. We have all these cases. I'm so happy that RFK is going to carry out this research, and hopefully they can really dig deeper into what's going on with all these childhood vaccines, because in Christian schools they are not required to take vaccines and kids are just fine. In the Amish community, they don't take vaccines at all, and they have the healthiest children. Why are we being forced to take these vaccines? And then you heard from Steve Kirsch, his findings, and most of the children that had chicken pox or measles are kids that were vaccinated. So with these, with what RFK is doing and the research that they're going to put a lot of research, they'll have a lot of doctors working around the clock to come up with answers in September. And I'll tell you this, mainstream media, remember who sponsors mainstream media? Pfizer and all those pharmaceutical companies. They are going to find their fruit soldiers and they will go after all these doctors. They will come out with, oh, he slept with this girl when he was in college, he raped this. They're going to come up with millions of negative stories to distract you from knowing the truth. So it's up to you. Okay, if you want to hand ammunition to these people to keep killing people or keep causing all kinds of disease, when I first moved to the United States, a friend of mine who's a doctor, I went to the pharmacy with her at Walmart, and she said, "Tiken, you see this wall? This is what's killing American people." That was back then. Okay, so it's up to you if you want to just stay silent or you don't want to hear anything about what's going on in the news. You just want to live your life and let these people come in and dictate to you what gets into your body. Free country, free speech. But I encourage everybody to keep listening, keep reading, and most importantly, keep an open mind. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye bye.